How do you sort out the so-called jargon from real-world practices that work? Do the members of your organization find some business or technology advice utterly confusing? Welcome to Real Talk with Sam Holcman. In this program, we set the record straight, and in terms that business people and technology people can understand. Now, here is your host, Sam Holcman.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk. I'm Sam Holcman. Thank you for joining me. And today's topic is a phrase that I think I coined. I think I made this up as an original. And the phrase that I'm using is right sourcing. Correct sourcing. R-I-G-H-T, correct sourcing, right sourcing. And that's the concept of looking at what to outsource, what to insource, what to put in the cloud, what to put this, there, and everywhere else. But not just because it's popular or on the internet, but it actually traces back to enabling your business and mission strategy. That's what this is about. So what we're looking at is taking the components that we have, and it's basically human beings, data, and process, if I can make it as simple as that, three elements that we're talking about here, and figuring out what should be within our bounds of our organization, what may be a hybrid situation, and which may be outside of our direct involvement. Not control, because we control everything. It doesn't matter if you write a check to somebody, you're still responsible for it. And what we're talking about is some very simple maps. We believe in the elegance of simplicity. I've done a long broadcast that I call People Revel in Complexity, and this is something that really drives me crazy. It's got to be human consumable. It's got to be stakeholder understandable. So what are we looking at? Basically, we're looking at some categories. And we need to make some decisions about what we're trying to achieve. So, for example, one of the rules of right sourcing that we have with our clients is if this particular thing, whether it's people or data or process, is strategic or an imperative to your organization, and or it has proprietary or intellectual property or best practices that are geared around your organization, those should always be within your walls, insourced. And that's because we should be able to map, remember I said a couple of just simple maps, map those things, data or process or people, into the goals that we're trying to achieve. And you'll hear the common theme, which is the goals. Next thing we look at are those things at the other end of the scale, where if we look at it, there's minimal impact if something happens in those environments, the people environment, the data environment, or the process environment, as far as our trying to achieve our objectives. So that would be a strong candidate for removing from our direct control. In other words, offshoring or outsourcing or somehow having other people involved in that particular thing. So those two edges, once again, we would all map those back into the goal so we could visually see this on a two-dimensional map. Very simple, two axes, and we can sort of see what is going on. The third category, which is the hybrid category, is a little bit more challenging, and this is where some volatility comes in. And this is the area, if you're really interested in cloud computing, for example, where I would explore a lot of cloud computing. In other words, there's volatility there as far as the density of data or the activity of processes or the changing skill sets, or you decide in a balanced approach. In other words, your steady state condition is 80% of these transactions are continuous, and there's a 20% variability. In other words, the sort of like the special conditions types of things. The 80% comes in-house, whether it's people, once again, process or data. And the 20%, you can offshore or outsource or do something like that. So once again, very simply, we have one axis, that has the goals that you're trying to achieve. What are the objectives, goals, missions, and value propositions that you have? And the other axis is one of these elements, and within the intersection grid, you make a comparison of the goals that you're trying to achieve and that particular element to see what the best choice would be. That's what we call right sourcing. Hopefully it's helpful. Take a look at it. You can do it very quickly at your desk to sort of get a picture of what's going on. Pass it by your stakeholders, and I think they'll be very pleased at how easy it is to understand and the choices that you can make based on what? Not technology, but the objective of achieving the mission and business strategies and goals. Hope that's helpful. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Be sure to join your host, Sam Holcman, again for another edition of our program. We'll have more real topics of discussion then.